My name is Lauren Bennett, and on my wedding morning, I learned that my mother had chosen a vacation over me. I was 29, dressed in white, and surrounded by bridesmaids who were trying to keep me calm. My dress was ready, my flowers were waiting. Daniel, my fiancé, was downstairs with his family, but one chair in the front row was supposed to belong to my mother. She had promised she would be there. She had helped me choose flowers and attended my dress appointment. She had cried when she saw my invitations. So, when the ceremony was only 2 hours away and she still hadn't arrived, I called her. She answered laughing. "Mom, where are you?" I heard music and voices behind her. Then she said, "Lauren, don't be upset. A trip sounded more fun." I froze. "What trip?" "Your father and I are in Florida." I stared at my wedding dress. "You knew my wedding was today." "Of course I knew." "Then why aren't you here?" She sighed. "Lauren, you'll have plenty of people there. You won't even notice I'm missing." I looked around the room at my bridesmaids. "I would notice." She laughed again. "We needed a break. Don't make this into something it isn't." I ended the call. For a few seconds, I just stood there. My mother had not forgotten. She had not been delayed. She had made a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you, if your mother chose a vacation over your wedding, would you forgive her? If you enjoy original family betrayal stories, emotional twists, and stories about standing up for yourself, subscribe to Public Evidence. My maid of honor, Sarah, walked in. She looked at my face. "Your mom?" I nodded. "She's not coming." Sarah sat beside me. "I'm sorry." I wiped my eyes. "Don't be. I don't want her absence to become my wedding story." I took a deep breath and picked up my bouquet. Daniel was waiting. My friends were there. People who loved me had shown up. So I walked down the aisle without my mother. The ceremony was beautiful. For a few hours, I managed to forget the empty seat. Then, during the reception, my Aunt Susan quietly pulled me aside. Her face looked serious. "Lauren, there's something you need to know." "What?" She lowered her voice. "Your mother didn't just choose a trip." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" Susan looked at her phone. "She's been telling the family that you knew she wasn't coming." My heart dropped, because I had never known. And suddenly, my mother's absence wasn't the only betrayal I had to deal with. The message was from my mother. "Lauren knew we were taking the trip. She said she understood." I felt my face go cold. "I never said that." Susan nodded. "I know." She showed me another message. My mother had told several relatives that I had become distant before the wedding and that she felt unwanted. I could barely believe it. For months, I had included her in everything. She had known the schedule. She had received the invitation. She had even asked me what color dress she should wear. Now she was telling everyone that I had pushed her away. I asked Susan why she had not told me sooner. "Because I didn't want to ruin your wedding day." I looked toward the reception. People were dancing. Daniel was talking with his friends. Everyone seemed happy. I took a breath. "I don't want to ruin it now either." Susan squeezed my hand. "Then don't." I returned to the reception. For the rest of the evening, I focused on Daniel. We cut the cake. We danced. We took pictures. I refused to let my mother's decision become the center of my wedding. But when we returned to the hotel that night, I finally opened my phone. There were messages from relatives. Some were supportive. Others were strange. One cousin wrote, "I'm sorry things became so difficult between you and your mom." Another said, "I hope someday you two can work things out." I stared at the screen. They actually believed I had caused this. Then I found a message from my father. "Your mother says you are upset because she chose the trip. Please don't make this bigger than it is." I called him. He answered quietly, "Lauren." "Did Mom tell you I knew about the trip?" There was silence. "Yes." "Did you believe her?" Another pause. "I wasn't sure." I looked down at my wedding ring. "Did you know she was leaving?" He finally admitted it. "Yes." My chest tightened. "You knew?" "We thought it would be better to tell you afterward." I almost couldn't speak. "You both knew?" "Lauren, your mother thought you would understand." I ended the call. Then Daniel sat beside me. He had heard enough. "You don't have to prove anything tonight." I nodded. But I knew one thing. This was no longer about a mother missing her daughter's wedding. My parents had known. My mother had lied. And my father had helped keep the lie alive. The next morning, Susan sent me another screenshot. This one was from the week before my wedding. My mother had written, "Once Lauren sees that everyone agrees with me, she'll stop making me feel guilty." I read it twice. Then I realized something. She had never intended to apologize. She had intended to make me look like the unreasonable daughter. And now I knew exactly what I had to find out. Why had my mother been so determined to make everyone believe I was the one who rejected her? My parents arrived at my house the following Friday evening. My mother walked in as if nothing had happened. "How are you settling into married life?" I looked at her. "Mom, I invited you because I want to talk about the wedding." Her smile disappeared. My father sat quietly beside her. I opened my phone and placed it on the table. "I know what you told everyone." My mother crossed her arms. "I told them the truth." "No, you told them your version." I showed her the messages. The one where she said I knew about the trip. The one where she claimed I had pushed her away. And the message where she admitted she was considering leaving before the wedding. My mother stared at the screen. Then she whispered, "I was hurt." "You were hurt. So you made everyone believe I rejected you?" She looked at my father. He lowered his eyes. I turned toward him. "And you knew?" He nodded. "I did." "Why didn't either of you tell me?" My father sighed. "Your mother thought you would understand." I shook my head. "I would have understood a vacation. I can't understand being lied about." My mother began crying. "I didn't want everyone thinking I was a bad mother." That sentence hit me harder than anything else. "So you made me look like a bad daughter." She had no answer. For years, I had protected my mother's feelings. I had stayed quiet when she criticized me. I had apologized when she was angry. I had accepted blame simply because keeping peace seemed easier. But that night, I finally stopped. "I am not going to fight with you," I said, "but I'm also not going to defend myself against a story you created." My father nodded. "You are right." My mother wiped her eyes. "I am sorry." I waited, not because I wanted a dramatic apology, because I wanted to know whether that she finally understood. She continued, "I should have told you I wanted the trip. I should have accepted that you were getting married and building your own life. Instead, I made myself the victim." I nodded slowly. "That is the truth." She looked at me. "Can you forgive me?" "I can try." It was not an immediate reconciliation. Trust does not return because someone says sorry once. But it was a beginning. Before they left, my mother hugged me. Then she whispered, "I should have been sitting in that front row." I closed my eyes. "Yes, Mom, you should have." She nodded. For the first time, neither of us tried to change what had happened. And I thought that was the end of the story. But 3 months later, my mother called me again. This time, she wasn't asking me to forgive her. She was asking me something completely different. "Lauren, can I come to your house for dinner?" 3 months later, my mother came to my house for dinner. She arrived carrying a small box. I opened it and found a framed photograph from my wedding. It was a picture of me walking down the aisle. My mother had never seen it in person. She handed it to me. I should have been there. I looked at her. Yes, Mom, you should have, she nodded. I know. There was no excuse this time, no mention of the vacation, no explanation about being tired, just an admission. She sat at my kitchen table and looked around. This is your home now. I smiled. Yes. She looked down. I think that scared me. What did? Watching you build a life where you didn't need me anymore. I sat across from her. Mom, I never stopped needing a mother. I just stopped needing someone to make every decision for me. She wiped her eyes. I handled it badly. You did. She actually smiled. I suppose I deserve that. We both laughed quietly. Then she said something I never expected. I want to earn your trust again. I nodded. Then start with honesty. She agreed. Our relationship did not magically become perfect after that dinner. There were still awkward conversations. There were moments when old habits returned, but something important had changed. My mother stopped telling other people what I supposedly felt. If she was hurt, she told me. If she wanted something, she asked. And when I said no, she learned to accept it. The following Christmas, she called me. What are you doing? I smiled. Having dinner with Daniel. She paused. Would you like us to come? I looked at Daniel. Then I answered, yes, but everyone brings something. She laughed. Fair enough. That Christmas, my mother showed up at my door carrying a casserole. No airport, no secret vaquette. No family story about how I had rejected her. She simply showed up. And as we sat around the table, I realized something. I had spent so much time wishing my mother would choose me that I had forgotten something important. I could choose myself too. My wedding day had not gone the way I imagined. My mother missed the ceremony. She missed the photographs. She missed the dance I'd once imagined sharing with her. I can never get that day back. But I also learned who would actually stand beside me when it mattered. My husband, my friends, my aunt, and eventually my mother. Once she understood that love was not about controlling the story. It was about showing up. So when people ask whether I forgave my mother, my answer is simple, yes. But forgiveness did not mean pretending she had never hurt me. It meant allowing her the chance to become someone I could trust again. Because sometimes the biggest betrayal isn't that someone wasn't there. It's discovering they were perfectly capable of being there and simply decided you weren't worth showing up for. And sometimes the most powerful response isn't revenge. It's building a life where their absence no longer has the power to ruin your happiness. If this story touched you, tell me, would you forgive a parent who missed your wedding for a vacation?